Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. For today's intro, I thought I would go more into depth about the most common question that I get right now, and that is how many Cybertrucks are being produced? And that seems to be something a lot of people are interested in. Now, I've taken my first stab at a production ramp chart, but I do want to remind you that you are entering the speculation zone. Everything that we'll be talking about are my own estimates and projections, and they may or may not be accurate, but it gives us a milepost to watch as things develop at the site. This is my chart that I had put out a few weeks ago, and I have seen several YouTubers and other social media using these charts in a slightly inaccurate way. So I want to go through this a little bit more in depth. And this is the basic chart. This shows on the left the production run rate and numbers of vehicles per week, and my estimates of how the production run rate will change throughout 2024. One common area of misconception I have seen has to do with understanding what a production ramp run rate is. And it's basically the average number of units produced by a process over a given time. It's used as a metric to process performance and predict future potential by extrapolating the most recent data available. This is not the number of produced units at a given time. I'd also like to emphasize the note at the bottom of the screen. These are my estimates and projections. I'm assuming a single 12-hour shift with 2 hours downtime daily for the first and most of the second quarter. Sometime in the second quarter, a second shift will be added, and that will increase capacity, and that'll be for the rest of 2024. I'm also assuming the 4680 production line increase capacity based on the construction on the north end of the factory, proceeding to having all 8 lines sometime in the fourth quarter of 2024. And this is consistent to what Drew said at the 2023 financial results meeting on the 24th of January. In addition to the run rate, I'm also anticipating the number of deliveries for customers, and that is what the blue line is. And you can see the projected cumulative deliveries on the right-hand side of the screen. And this is going to proceed in kind of fits and starts throughout the year, and there will be 2 major inflection points that will be coming up in 2024. The first inflection point occurs sometime at the end of the second quarter and into the third quarter. That's when the second shift for Cybertruck production comes online. Also, production lines number 1 through 4 will be fully operational for the 4680 battery cell production here at Giga-Texas. The second inflection point happens right at the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter of this year, and that is when the 4680 production lines number 5 through 8 come fully online, and the production capability and capacity for the 4680s increases tremendously and will be able to support more than just the Cybertruck production. So with all that being said, let's shift gears and take a look at some estimates for the numbers of Cybertrucks produced so far. This was posted by Gregor Truck on X, and you can see the link in the upper left-hand side of the screen if you would like to go to that and get up-to-date information and track along. Now, these estimates are for Cybertruck activated VINs, and that means that sometime in the production process, a VIN is activated. They are planned VINs for production and give us an overall sense of how things are going. At the time of this posting that we're discussing now, about 997 total VINs for Cybertruck production have been recorded. They're not all completed or for built trucks yet. However, at the time of this discussion, somewhere around 600 to 700 trucks have been completed by the 29th of January. A few other interesting data points. To date, 6.1% of Cybertrucks are Cyberbeasts. The rest are dual motors. There's been 1,835 VINs scanned. Now, this includes pre-production models, so not all of these are customer delivery vehicles. And if you want to get more information or check out this site, take a look at the link in the upper left-hand side of the screen. It will also be in the video description. So given this information, how do my estimates and projections check out so far? Now, my intent with this chart is to give us some milestones to track through 2024 to see how the production process is progressing. Right now, I've been estimating about 12,000 yearly run rate. That's about 1,000 per month, or 4 Cybertrucks per hour with a 10-hour workday. That's about 250 Cybertrucks per week. Now, the VIN estimator is showing about 997 by the 29th of January, which I think projects pretty well and is in the ballpark of what I am projecting right now. Now, by the end of February, I'm projecting a run rate of about 24,000 per year and also about 3,000 deliveries to customers. So that'll be something we can look for in the end of February. One other thing that I did want to address that I think people are misunderstanding is this chart that was presented in that fourth quarter and 2023 financial update. This shows the current installed vehicle capacity, and I've highlighted where Giga-Texas is, and you can see those numbers. Now at the bottom of the screen, I just want to point out that installed capacity is not the same as current production rate, and there are many factors, as you can see here, that can affect that. Now, in addition, we have many factors that are going to be affecting the production rate here at Giga-Texas, and these numbers are not static and they will change, and most likely they will increase. Some of the items are the production line upgrades and installed equipment. We're watching that right now with the drone flights. The ongoing and completed construction, which would be things like the west end of line facility and the outbound lot, which is a critical part of continuing that production ramp, and we'll watch that construction. The boring tunnel, which is a critical part of moving the vehicles from the factory to that west side facility. The south factory extension, the multi-level parking garage, which is critical for the number of employees that are anticipated to be hired throughout the rest of this year and into 2025 to support the second shift of Cybertruck and the next generation vehicle. Increasing the installed production line equipment and the operational speed of that equipment, 4680 battery cell production and the added lines coming online, and of course more construction equipment installation, setup, training for that next generation platform. So all of this is what we'll be seeing through the drone flights through 2024. So I hope that you found this discussion helpful and puts more into context what I was trying to convey and how I intend to use these production ramp charts that I put together. And I'd like to remind you what Tesla said. The ramp of the Cybertruck will be longer than other models due to the complexity of the production line. And I think that's what's reflected in the numbers that I presented. So now, without further ado, let's get into the drone. Let's fly around Giga-Texas and let's see what developments are underway today. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. For a change, it's a very nice day to fly here at Giga-Texas. No rain, no low clouds, no fog, nothing. Winds are perfect, and a lot of things to see today, so I'm glad that Mother Nature has cooperated. We're starting here on the far east side, looking back towards the west, towards the main factory. And of course, you can see the parking garage on the left under construction, the warehouse on wheels in the middle, and on the right-hand side of the screen is the battery cathode plant, the die shop, and some new activity that we're going to take a look at by the crash test facility. But it's a great view from this vantage point over this east side. You can see some of the materials and more of those superchargers still waiting here for installation at some point in the near future. And I'm kind of curious to see where those are going to go. Now, as we approach into the battery cathode plant east side, and we see some of the activity on the east side here with continuing to clean up that material, the trailers, and also some earthwork, and I'll give you a closer look at that here shortly. But as I was flying over to take a look at this water detention pond, something caught my eye on the left-hand side of the screen near the south end of the crash test facility. So I thought I'd come in and give you a closer look. And there's an excavation going on, and it almost looks like this might be a base for possibly a column, maybe a light, maybe, I don't know, some vertical structure. But this is obviously very new, and it's interesting to see that that is happening on here, the south side of the crash test facility. Now, the water detention pond continues to have its infall and outfall channels worked on with concrete structures, and you can see one of those in the bottom of the screen. There's still some water in that filtration system here in the middle from all of the rains, but it is definitely clearing up. Now, as I come up towards the north end of the crash test facility. You see some Cybertrucks that have been crash tested in the bottom, but also we can see earthwork and some preparation for maybe more than just paving. Maybe this is going to be some new structure at some point. It's really hard to tell, but as you can see by this good view of all of the earthwork going on, they're really doing some preparation in and around the Wade pit, and maybe it's related to the operation of the Wade pit, but we'll see. The cell test lab, it looks like it's got the window on the south end, and it does look like it's busy with that trailer and other activity that's going on there. On the far north end here, we see the continued earthwork and removal of those kind of the dirt islands where used to have the power poles and electrical wires, and those have been removed. And of course here, the materials still staged, but a lot less of them. And most of that has been moved into the battery cathode plant, which is great because I'm expecting to see some sort of testing or maybe even beginnings of production here of cathode materials very soon. On the north end, some more of that earthwork just north of the ramp in front of those 5 receiving doors. And then the lift station looks like more work is being done. Some of the manhole covers or those doors are open, and more of the pipe work on that north end. And of course that one pipe with that J fitting on the top. Still waiting for final connections. More work on the side of the battery cathode plant. We can see on the left where the underground stormwater pipe is located with some of those concrete, and more work being done here with this trench next to the chiller plant for that concrete to continue to extend that to the north. And the plastic wall here for protecting this north end is still in place. The Evapco unit fans are working, and understand that there are pipes underneath that get a lot of steam, and those fan units are what are used to cool those off. And so seeing the steam coming up is a great sign that there is operation of some sort going on. On this west side of the die shop, I'll bring the drone down a little lower. You can just see that the berm has been widened. All of the underground stormwater pipes have been installed. Most of the standing water now from the rains is gone, but otherwise haven't seen much as far as paving or other improvements on this west side. So here's a good view of the employee overflow lot and the parking lot. And as I continue to maneuver towards the north, we'll proceed to the trailers for the temporary Tesla offices, and then I want to show you some developments with the temporary electrical switch yard. The upper left-hand corner, we see some more of the utility trucks, those white ones underneath the power lines. And then here we see materials that have been removed from the temporary switch yard stored on the bottom of the screen, and a lot of activity with more disassembly. This was the power source for Giga-Texas through 2021 all the way to 2023, at least towards the end of the year. So this is what temporarily was powering the factory. But now with the new electrical switch yard on the right, this is no longer needed. So this is all being disassembled. And I've mentioned before, but I still have some questions coming in from viewers. This is owned by LCRA, which is the Lower Colorado River Authority. And this equipment is being disassembled and then moved to other sites around the area and used as LCRA intends. But that entire site will be eventually gone. And then we'll be able to see what they plan on doing in that open area once it's all completely gone. As we look across the highway, we see many trucks lined up waiting to come to Giga-Texas to pick up vehicles. And I think they're waiting for their time slot for production to ramp up on this Monday morning before they are ready to pick up the vehicles. The Megapack site, again, looks mostly finished, but those disconnects at the bottom of the screen are still open. So this site is not yet connected to the grid, nor is it able to provide any power to Giga-Texas as a backup power source yet. So hopefully with continued work with ERCOT and Tesla, they'll be able to get that operational soon. So let's fly to the south over Tesla Road. There's another transport truck coming here to pick up some of the newly made Model Ys and Cybertrucks. And we'll stop here at the parking lot to just show you this open manhole cover and the vault, and still some of the electrical wires waiting for installation. And those would come down and connect into these open vaults at the middle of the screen. Now there's a lot of activity going on here. The widening of the berm on the left, some of the recycling of the milled out excess in these bins from the castings, materials waiting to be installed for the furnaces. We see a lot of front castings for Cybertrucks here today, as well as a large delivery on this truck that is maneuvering in between all of the castings. I'm not sure exactly if that's destined for casting machine section or some other area. As we round the corner and look at the north end of the factory, the paint shop is on the left-hand side of the screen, and now the plastics manufacturing is just passing on the left as well, and we're approaching with a 4680 battery cell section that is continuing to see improvements and additions. Now on the left-hand side of the screen and on the middle of the screen with the arrows, you can see these kind of industrial lifts or elevators have been installed. It looks like they're just about ready to be operational. We also see some deliveries here. This is Camfill. This is part of a air filtration system that is being delivered. There's another truck off to the right as well. In addition to that, some of the bins are still filled with concrete as that's being ripped out and reworked. And of course, we saw some drywall for the interior walls as well. So a lot of activity continued to try to prepare the 4680 cell area for those additional 4 lines that will come online later this year, as we talked about in the video intro. Now on the west side, I'm going to stop briefly, take a look at the ramp that has been removed, some standing water, but otherwise no real changes. And I'm still waiting to find out what the plan is for this ramp that has been removed. Now, while I'm on this part of the factory, I'm going to bring the drone up and give you a look at the section of roof with all of these bricks along the seams. This is the part of the roof that has had some problems with the weatherproof membrane. On the bottom of the screen, I'll put an arrow up and you can see where some of that has separated from the firewall. And of course, crews are working on that as well. So there's going to be some work that needs to be done to fix this membrane and the seams to make sure that it doesn't leak any more water. On this side of the factory roof, we're over the casting machine structure. The ventilation system continues to be installed and is progressing from the north to the south. We see ducted fans, some of those kind of that galvanized steel ductwork that has been installed. A really good view of how that looks here today. And then here with these crews moving this large box on the right, I think that may be some sort of a filtration system that is put in between the galvanized ducting. And on the right, we see even more of that ductwork being prepared for installation. As we come over the power lines, take a look at the east side of the casting machine structure. A lot of those racks with castings. We see these tanks with what is labeled as LNG, but some people are saying it's just compressed natural gas, but it's being used for some way to support what is going on inside the casting machine structure. And as we continue to fly over the outbound lot here on the east side, we can see in between several of the Model Ys, a lot of Cybertrucks as well. There's actually some being loaded up onto trailers right now, and the trucks are picking up vehicles and departing it very quickly. There's not a lot of the vehicles right now because it's early in the morning on a Monday, and production is just being ramped back up after the day off yesterday. But still a good number of Cybertrucks waiting here in the lot, and we just saw another one arriving from the factory. So great to see the numbers and the rate that the Cybertrucks are continuing to come out of the factory. And Model Y production has looked like it has been ramped up as well. So hopefully we'll get some numbers from Tesla soon and get an idea of how that production is going. There's a lot of work here on this east side for road work, and also the concrete items being stored here for that multi-level parking garage, and we'll get a closer look at that here shortly. The testing and calibration lot next to the helicopter pad, again, is empty because it's early on the Monday, but vehicles are being created and produced and brought out here right now, and we can see several Cybertrucks waiting here on this part of the lot. There's 3 of them on the right-hand side. We see 4 of them near the superchargers, one of them, of course, driving. And again, this is really great to see. Based on our discussion in the intro, I still think there's somewhere between the 4 and 8 vehicle per hour rate, but we'll see how that continues to develop now that we're almost into February. As we get over to the multi-level parking garage, there's a few new developments that I want to point out. On the right, you can see the staircase and the stairwells with the elevator shaft all installed. See more concrete panels being installed with like window openings in the middle. Some new concrete columns are being added, one here, and we see another set next to the crane. You'll also notice that there's a double set of concrete columns. This is kind of a expansion joint between 2 sections of the building, and they'll have that throughout this entire area just to allow that expansion to take place. Now, speaking of expanding, the entire east side is almost ready for that building to arrive, and then they'll continue to build out and more than double the footprint that it is currently. More materials are being stockpiled on that east side, some gravel and some of that rebar mesh. Give us a good view of the road work that is under development here on the east side near the trees. And of course, the area with the steel corrugated pipes is where the road will connect over and go over to the river road on the south end of the building. Here's another good view of how the multi-level parking garage continues to grow, now mostly towards the east since it's nearly at the northbound extent. So I'm going to fly back over the power lines. We'll come down. I want to show you the progress with this opening in the roof section, and all of the roof decking materials for the insulation and weatherproof membranes has been removed. We can see through this section on all the machinery, the pipes, the manifolds that are underneath here. And all this is being prepared to have ventilation ducting, very similar to what you see in the top right of the screen with that kind of vapor coming up out of it. So this is a much larger part of the heating and ventilation system for Giga-Texas being prepared with this open part of the roof. So I'm going to bring the drone up a little. We're going to fly over the solar panels and towards the west side of the factory again, and I'll maneuver the drone back down, and I'm going to show you some activity near the west main entrance. One thing that we see is several Cybertrucks and a couple of those Model Ys next to the main entrance. And again, I've been told that some people think that that lighter color Model Y may be the wrap that was featured during the 2023 financial meeting and the report, but I think it's really not a wrap. I think it's the Quicksilver from Giga Berlin. But anyway, if you have any ideas on that, let me know. The temporary end of line is busy getting geared up with that production right now today. And speaking of end of line, let's maneuver the drone up higher and let's get ready to cross over the highway, and we'll take a look at the progress with the new end of line facility and other parts of that west support area. Here's a good look at this central material staging area. We have those 2 tents and some other contractor office trailers in this particular area. The clearing on the right with some of that water is continuing to be prepared for some sort of construction in the near future, and this rectangular water detention pond is still full with all of the rain water that we got last week. And the end-of-line facility, we see more of the curbs being constructed on the north and on the east sides. So once the trench work is done and with these curbs in, we should start seeing paving around this particular facility. A lot of the conduit work is continuing along the area where we see the power lines underneath the drone. And then on the south side, we see where the conduit work is kind of branching out on the left. We see those green power boxes or electrical boxes being installed here. And also the superchargers installation is continuing. And it looks like, at least right now, about 32 superchargers are in the process of being installed. And here's a good view of how this looks on the south end and some of the electronic cabinets that are being installed here. Now, we're going to see a little later where more of those cabinets and superchargers are being stored. But as I fly back up to the north, I briefly just show you the work that is going on here with trenching for the lighting system. And then this area, once that's done, will be paved, very similar to this. And we see the markings for the outbound lot have been applied. I think they were being applied over the weekend. And the whole end of line and the outbound lot is critical for ramping of more Model Ys and Cybertrucks for the rest of this year. Now on this material staging yard, I'll zoom in and show you some work that is going on with more of the superchargers and the electronic cabinets that will support the superchargers, plus some other materials in and around this area. And this suggests that there's going to be a lot more superchargers installed than we see currently on that south end. We also get a good view of a lot of materials, some of the duct work on the upper right that will go onto the roof where we held that open section. And then we also see more deliveries and maneuvering of TKS modular paint system items in these large white wrapped items. And this is most likely for yet another modular paint system to support probably the next generation vehicle. All of these blue and white wrapped items here are kind of a mystery, but it could be part of another stamping machine or metal forming machine that will support either Cybertruck or possibly the next generation vehicle. And I've had a patron of mine say that in the Sandy Monroe interview when he was walking around with Lars Mulrovey over at the stamping machine section, they made comment about another machine getting ready to be installed. So perhaps that is the parts for that machine that they mentioned. The former contractor parking lot here, this triangular area, now has a roadway down in the middle, and we see it's being used for steel storage, at least temporary, on the right-hand side of the screen. All the vehicles were moved farther to the southwest for parking, but that steel could be used or temporarily stored for use at the south end at building extension. The West Warehouse on Wheels expansion has now taken place. We saw the markers being installed in my previous video. Now we see more of the trailers in this expanded location. And the big question will be, is this to replace the East Warehouse on Wheels, or is this just expansion? And it'll be something worth continuing to watch. As we come over the trailers, I'm going to bring the drone back down and show you a good close-in view of the work that's going on with the boring company setting up all of the support equipment and the proof rock drilling tunnel boring machine as well. On the left, we see the silos for the cement and the grout that will be used to seal between the tunnel dirt and also the concrete liners. We see that belt cassette on the left is being installed. That will be to remove the spoils or the dirt that is a byproduct of the tunneling machine process. Here we see the trailers all put into place next to the boring tunnel start point. And also we see part of the Proof Rock 3 tunnel boring machine assembled. They're still missing a large end section. We can see those tarps over the internal machinery that would be inside that third large part that has yet to be delivered. But this is a really good view showing the cutting head and the pit that it is in to initiate the drilling once that process begins. Now, I've had a viewer that has had experience with tunnel boring operations, and he thinks that the actual drilling is still a couple of weeks away based on what he is seeing with the setup right now. But overall, really good view of all of the work to prepare the boring operation to start this tunnel that will go underneath the road and connect over to the south end of the building. And it's a good view showing where that most likely will happen. Also a good view of the south end, the extension, all of the steel work and the cyber pond, and also some of the work that's being done with the earth movement and clearing on the south side of River Road. Now, as we've crossed over the highway, we'll resume the flight at a little lower altitude, and I'll follow along River Road. Again, you can see that earthwork on the right that has been done to prepare that section. And then as I turn back towards the steel structure, we see that more steel is being assembled right now. The building is continuing to expand from the east towards the west, and they're working pretty much in the middle point down to the perimeter grade beam at this point in time. We see more of the floor decking and now rebar being installed ahead of concrete on that second floor, and work being done on the roof and the roof decking as well. As we continue to fly towards the east, you'll see that most of the wooden crates that had the large glass panes have been emptied. There's still a couple left, but on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see all of the glass has been installed along this southeast corner. I'm going to fly up over the roof section and give you a good view of these 4 tanks that are under construction right now. And the smaller ones are 3 levels high, and the 2 larger ones 2 levels high, but there is still more of the steel waiting on the sides of the installation, and those will be welded on to extend the height of these tanks. So pretty interesting to see the amount of work being done here on this section for those tanks. And again, there is some discussion that those may be related to the TKS modular paint system that we saw on the far west side. And then here's a good side view showing the extent of the steel structure now and how it continues to progress. Also have this middle section between the stamping extension on the right-hand side and the steel on the left. And this is all being left open for some reason. I'm not exactly sure right now. But we also saw on the bottom right where the Cybertrucks are coming out of the end of line for Cybertrucks and then working their way over towards the testing and calibration lot on the east side. This section on the southwest side shows all of the footing work that is continuing, and also the area where the tunnel may come out from the boring operation on the other side of the road. And more of the footings being worked here on the southwest corner. No Cybertrucks on the left temporary staging yard this morning, but it's possible there'll be more showing up there later in the day. So there's a pretty good quick look all around the site about the activity that is going on here on this Monday, the 29th of January. I hope that you enjoyed the long intro talking about the Cybertruck production estimates and also everything we saw in the video. As always, thank you very much for your support. Have a great week.